Evan Hale stepped off the shuttle onto the alien station, the metallic floor humming faintly beneath his boots. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet he couldn't identify. The station was enormous, a web of corridors, pipes, and glass tunnels that stretched in all directions. He had trained for first contact, for diplomacy, and for situations that might go completely wrong. Still, nothing had prepared him for the feeling of walking into a world that seemed alive, yet utterly alien. A voice came through his comlink, calm but firm. "Human, stop. Clothing must remain intact at all times while on the station." He looked around. A tall alien, her skin shimmering with faint colors that shifted depending on her mood, stepped from the shadows. Her eyes, a deep violet, studied him with unblinking focus. "Commander Celera," the shuttle pilot whispered into Evan's ear. "She's the station's chief officer. She doesn't tolerate mistakes." Evan adjusted the collar of his uniform, nodding politely. "Understood, Commander." Celera's gaze didn't soften. She gestured to the hallway ahead. "Follow me. Rules exist for a reason. Humans have a habit of ignoring rules. That habit will not serve you here." As they walked, Evan noticed that the walls were alive with sensors. Small, crystalline devices pulsed faintly, their light reflecting on the shiny floors. The corridor curved and split, yet every junction seemed monitored. The station was not just a hub of technology, it was a web of intelligence, and humans were guests in a system that did not yet trust them. "You will learn quickly," Celera said. Her voice was melodic, almost musical, yet every word carried authority. "Clothing is not about modesty here. It is about survival." Evan frowned slightly but said nothing. The station already seemed dangerous enough without testing the boundaries of local etiquette. He had read the briefings, but reading about alien rules was different from living them. He was fully aware that the aliens had biology completely unlike humans. What they considered normal could be lethal to him in an instant. They entered a large observation deck. Through the glass, he could see smaller crafts moving in and out of docking bays, connected to the station by energy tubes. Aliens moved gracefully, their limbs bending in ways that no human limb could. They worked in perfect coordination, almost as if they shared a single mind. "You will observe only," Celera instructed. "Do not touch unless instructed. Do not remove clothing. Do not expose skin. Humans have a tendency to forget these rules when panic arises. You must not forget." Evan nodded again. Inside, he felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The rules sounded simple enough. He could follow it. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it, something unspoken, a danger lurking that went beyond simple clothing protocols. For the next few hours, he moved with Celera through the station, learning the functions of different sectors. He saw alien engineers recalibrating energy conduits, medical officers tending to glowing, pulsating creatures that were alive and yet mechanical, and scientists manipulating energy in ways that reminded him of advanced particle physics. Every movement seemed choreographed. Every command was obeyed instantly. He noticed small creatures skittering along the walls, almost invisible. They reacted to human presence, pausing, shifting, then retreating into shadows. It was clear the station's entire ecosystem was tuned to the aliens' biology. A mistake could be fatal. At one point, Celera paused before a large doorway marked with glowing symbols. "This sector requires full caution," she said. "No human has entered unprepared. Clothing is mandatory. Protective gear is optional. Do not attempt to remove layers. You may think it unnecessary. You will not live to think it." Evan swallowed. He didn't like fear. Fear made humans sloppy. But he could feel the weight of her warning. He had to be careful. Even a small error could trigger a reaction. They entered the sector. The air smelled different here, more metallic, sharper. The walls vibrated faintly. Crystalline sensors blinked faster. Evan's comlink buzzed softly, signaling alerts he didn't understand. Celira led him to a central control hub where she touched a console. The system hummed, then displayed real-time readings of biological energy levels. "This sector is sensitive," she said. "Some of our creatures react to exposed human skin. It is not aggression, it is instinct. Their biology is tuned to energy signatures. You have a signature they cannot predict. Do not provoke it." Evan kept his eyes on the displays, but his mind raced. A simple touch, a mistake, could end everything. Yet he also felt a spark of excitement. Humans were known for adapting to impossible challenges. Perhaps this was why the aliens had not yet removed them from the station entirely. Hours passed. Evan followed every rule, listened to every instruction, and observed every protocol. He kept his hands at his sides, his body covered as instructed. And yet he noticed the aliens glancing at him, subtly, almost as if they were testing him. Every successful moment of restraint seemed to earn him respect, not through words, but through acknowledgement in movement, in posture, in how the aliens shared space with him. Then something unexpected happened. A minor alarm went off in a distant section. The station vibrated. Lights shifted from soft blue to urgent red. Celira's face became more serious than Evan had ever seen. "Follow me, now." They ran through twisting corridors. Evan's training kicked in. He kept close to her, watching every detail. They arrived at a containment bay where one of the station's experimental creatures had reacted violently. Its energy pulses had intensified, and sensors indicated an unstable surge. "Keep your distance," Celira instructed. "The creature is not hostile in the way humans think. It is sensitive. Its response could be catastrophic if triggered incorrectly. Stay covered. Do not remove clothing. Any exposure could escalate the reaction." Evan nodded, understanding the gravity. He had no doubt that even a small error could be lethal. He observed the creature, a mass of energy and flesh, pulsing with color and light. Every movement sent waves across the room. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Celira gestured for Evan to assist with the control panels. He did so cautiously, his fingers following every instruction. The creature shifted slightly, its energy probing toward him. Evan stayed calm. He focused, letting human patience and reasoning guide him rather than fear. Slowly, the energy pattern stabilized. Celira looked at him then, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You understand now," she said. "Humans are unusual. You do not react instinctively. You follow logic. You respect rules even when the rules seem strange. That is why you survive where others might fail." Evan felt a mix of relief and pride. He had not just followed the rule, he had adapted, thought critically, and remained calm under pressure. Even the aliens could see it. The remainder of the day was spent in observation and learning. Evan began to notice patterns, how the aliens interacted with each other, with technology, and with creatures that were far more sensitive than any human could imagine. Everything relied on control, observation, and careful action. By the time the human shuttle was called for the night, Evan had learned one vital truth. Survival on this station was not about strength or weaponry or speed. It was about understanding, observation, respect. Humanity had succeeded because humans could follow rules, adapt quickly, and think critically under stress. Celira walked him to the docking bay. "Tomorrow will be different," she said. "You will face more challenges. Your rules will be tested further. Do not fail. Your species is rare in its ability to restrain instinct when it is dangerous to do otherwise." Evan nodded. He knew the next day could bring danger beyond what he had already seen. And yet, he felt ready. Humans had survived impossible odds before. They would survive here too. As he entered his cabin for the night, he looked at his reflection in the glass. Fully clothed, alert, and aware of the rules, he smiled faintly. It was strange. He was not free in the way humans normally considered freedom. Yet in a way, he felt more alive than ever. Following the rules here was not a limitation. It was a test, and humans, he realized, were uniquely suited to pass such tests. Outside, the station hummed, alive with the energy of 1,000 systems and creatures, each perfectly balanced. For the first time, Evan did not feel out of place. He felt like a part of something vast, something far beyond Earth. And for the first time, he understood the real meaning of the warning. Clothing was not a choice, it was survival. Evan closed his eyes and let the gentle hum of the station lull him into sleep. Tomorrow would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he also knew this. Humanity had a way of proving itself when faced with the impossible. And he, a single human among aliens, would be no exception. The next morning, Evan awoke to the soft hum of the station and the faint glow of alien lights seeping through the cabin. He stretched carefully, conscious of the rules that had already proved vital to his survival. Clothing was not optional here. Every layer, every piece of protective gear was a barrier between him and unpredictable danger. The previous day had taught him that much. When he stepped out of his cabin, Celira was waiting. She looked more intense than before, her colors shifting subtly as she observed him. "Today, you will face a challenge that will test not only your mind but your endurance," she said. "You must remain fully clothed as always. Remove nothing. Any deviation could be catastrophic." Evan nodded, feeling the familiar mix of anticipation and tension. He followed her through the winding corridors of the station, noticing for the first time how alive the place felt. Even the floors and walls seemed to respond to their presence, subtle vibrations and pulses guiding them along. The air was cooler here, tinged with a metallic scent. Every step reminded him that this was not a place for instinctual actions. Thought and precision were the only tools that mattered. They reached a sector filled with glowing conduits, spiraling around a central energy core. The room pulsed with power and sensors blinked in rhythmic patterns. "This is the energy nexus," Celira explained. "It regulates all the secondary systems on the station. A malfunction here could cascade into disaster. Today, you will assist in recalibrating it." Evan's eyes widened slightly. Recalibrating an alien energy nexus was far beyond any human engineering he had ever studied. But he reminded himself of what he had learned yesterday. Humans succeed where others fail because they can remain calm, think critically, and adapt. Celira handed him a set of controls. "Observe the readings first. Do not act until I instruct you. One wrong input could destabilize the system." Evan nodded and leaned over the console. Streams of alien symbols and energy readings scrolled across the display. At first, the information was overwhelming, but he focused, breaking it down into recognizable patterns. Slowly, he began to understand the rhythm of the nexus, the way the energy flowed, and the subtle warnings embedded in the data. Suddenly, an alarm blared. A surge of energy shot through the room and a soft tremor shook the floor. Evan's heart raced. A secondary conduit had overheated. Celira's eyes flicked to the readouts, her colors shifting rapidly, a sign of urgency and stress in her species. "You must remain composed," she said. "Touch only what I indicate. Do not remove any protective layers. The creature nearby will react if it senses exposed human energy." Evan's fingers moved over the controls, following her precise instructions. He felt the heat from the conduits, a sensation that made every instinct scream to move away. But he didn't. Humans had a unique ability to withstand uncomfortable situations without panicking, and that trait became his greatest asset. Slowly, carefully, he redirected energy flows, stabilizing the overheated conduits one by one. As the room began to stabilize, the creature Celira had warned him about appeared from a shadowed alcove. It was small, but its energy radiated in waves that made the hair on his arm stand on end. Its glowing eyes studied him, and Evan froze, remembering the warning. Any exposed skin could trigger a reaction. He stayed fully clothed, moving only when directed. Celira approached the creature cautiously, her presence calming it. She gestured for Evan to continue his work. Step by step, they brought the nexus back into balance. The creature watched silently, no longer tense but alert, as if acknowledging the human's capability to act with thought and restraint. When the final conduit stabilized, Celira turned to him. "You have succeeded, but the test is not yet over. The station is alive. It reacts to stress, danger, and fear. Tomorrow, you will face a situation where survival depends on more than logic. It will depend on endurance and courage." Evan felt a surge of anticipation. Humans were known for rising to impossible challenges. This was another opportunity to prove that instinct, when controlled and guided by reason, could accomplish what no other species could. The following hours were spent in observation and training. Evan learned more about the station's delicate ecosystem, the creatures that lived within it, and the subtle ways energy flowed through every system. He noticed that even small mistakes could ripple through the station, creating instability that threatened life itself. It was a world where precision, patience, and courage were not just virtues, they were survival skills. As evening approached, a sudden alert changed everything. Lights turned red and a low hum grew into a roar. The station shook violently. Evan felt his stomach drop. He knew instinctively that this was not a drill. Celira grabbed his arm. "A failure in the secondary core has triggered a cascading overload. We must act immediately." They raced through the corridors, the hum growing louder with every step. The floor trembled beneath them. Evan's training kicked in. He followed every instruction, observing patterns, anticipating dangers. When they reached the core, the situation was worse than he had imagined. Energy pulses leapt from one conduit to another, threatening to destabilize the entire station. "Touch only what I indicate," Celira repeated. "Do not remove layers. The creatures here are sensitive. Any misstep could be catastrophic." Evan nodded, focusing entirely on the task. His hands moved over the controls, rerouting energy, stabilizing conduits, and carefully following her precise instructions. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he did not panic. Humans had a remarkable ability to remain calm under pressure, to calculate and act where others might flee. That calm focus became their greatest strength. Minutes passed like hours. Every movement mattered. A single error could trigger a surge that would destroy the nexus. Evan's mind worked quickly, analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes, and executing commands with precision. Slowly, the energy began to stabilize. The pulse that had threatened the station softened, then returned to a steady rhythm. Finally, the alarm ceased. The tremors stopped. The room fell silent, save for the soft hum of the core. Evan exhaled, his body trembling from the strain but his mind sharp. He had survived, adapted, and succeeded. Celira looked at him, her colors shifting in a way he had learned signified approval. "You have done what no other human has attempted. You controlled instinct. You acted with thought and courage. That is why you survive where others might fail." Evan felt a sense of pride. Humans had faced impossible odds on Earth countless times, and here he had faced the unknown of an alien world. His species' strength was not just physical, it was mental, moral, and emotional. He had shown that humans could navigate a world that seemed incomprehensible, survive where others would falter, and act with both courage and intelligence. The rest of the evening was spent in quiet observation. Evan learned more about the station, noting the subtle interactions between creatures, systems, and the aliens themselves. He realized that every part of this environment demanded respect and understanding. Nothing could be approached recklessly. Humans had earned trust not by brute force, but by restraint, patience, and careful thought. When the shuttle arrived to return him to his quarters, Celira stopped him. "Tomorrow will challenge you further. You will encounter situations that cannot be solved by reason alone. Survival will depend on endurance, courage, and the ability to act under extreme conditions. "Are you ready?" Evan nodded. "I will do my best." She studied him for a moment, then allowed him to proceed. As he walked to his cabin, he thought about the lessons he had learned. Humans had the rare ability to control instinct, think critically under pressure, and act with purpose in impossible situations. These traits made them uniquely suited for survival in environments that no other species could endure. That night, Evan lay awake in his cabin, listening to the station's hum. He thought about the challenges ahead and the unknown dangers lurking within the alien world. He felt a mix of fear and excitement. Humans thrived in the face of the impossible, and he would prove that he was no exception. Outside, the station pulsed with life, each system, creature, and energy flow perfectly balanced yet capable of chaos at a single misstep. Evan realized that survival here was not just about following rules. It was about understanding, adapting, and demonstrating the unique strengths of humanity. He closed his eyes, ready for the next day's trials, confident that humans had a way of succeeding where others failed. In this alien station, far from Earth, he had already begun to prove what it meant to be human. The following morning, Evan woke with a sense of anticipation he could not shake. The station was quiet, deceptively calm, as if it too were holding its breath. He knew today would not be like yesterday or the day before. Celera had warned him that survival would soon depend on more than reasoning and patience. Endurance, courage, and rapid adaptability would be tested. When he stepped into the corridor, Celera was already waiting. Her colors shifted with a mix of caution and curiosity. "Today," she said, her voice steady, "you will face an unexpected situation. It will demand that you act quickly, decisively, and without hesitation. A failure may threaten the entire station. You understand?" Evan nodded. He had learned that the rules here were more than arbitrary. Each warning carried a weight he could feel in the vibrations of the station, in the reactions of the creatures, and in the pulses of energy surrounding every hallway. He had been prepared mentally, but nothing could fully prepare him for what lay ahead. They walked together to a large chamber that stretched up and out of view. At the center, a massive energy core pulsed erratically, arcs of energy leaping between conduits. Around it, alien engineers worked frantically, though their movements were cautious and precise. Celera gestured for Evan to follow her closer. "A malfunction in the tertiary systems has caused instability here," she explained. "If not corrected, the entire station could collapse. This is unlike anything you have encountered. You must remain fully clothed. You must follow my instructions exactly. Any exposure of human energy could provoke the nearby creatures and worsen the situation." Evan's heart raced, but he felt a quiet determination settle in. Humans thrived in situations where others might freeze. He had already proven his ability to remain calm under pressure, to adapt and survive where instinct alone would fail. Today, he would need all of those skills and more. The energy core pulsed violently, sending vibrations through the floor. One of the conduits sparked, sending arcs of light dancing across the chamber. Evan instinctively moved closer, hands hovering over the controls. Celera's gaze was fixed on the readouts. "Do not touch anything until I instruct you," she warned. "Observe patterns first. Acting too soon will create chaos." Evan focused, analyzing the sequences of energy surges. He noticed the rhythm, subtle fluctuations that indicated when the core was most vulnerable. Carefully, he mirrored the timing with his own movements, adjusting valves and controls as directed. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he stayed calm. Panic would be fatal here. Humans succeeded where others failed because they could control their emotions and think logically even under extreme stress. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The station trembled violently. The creatures in the room, normally passive, became agitated, sensing the instability in the energy fields. Evan froze briefly, remembering the warnings. Any misstep could trigger a catastrophic reaction. "Now," Celera commanded. Evan's fingers moved with precision, guided by both instruction and instinct. He rerouted energy flows, stabilized conduits, and anticipated surges before they happened. The creatures around him reacted, but he remained fully covered, moving only as necessary, exuding calm confidence that seemed to influence the surrounding environment. The minutes stretched painfully. Every action carried immense consequences. One wrong move, one moment of hesitation, could destabilize the station entirely. But Evan persisted, using human reasoning and patience to navigate the complex alien systems. Slowly, the energy core began to stabilize. Pulses that had leapt wildly began to follow a more predictable rhythm. The alarms quieted, the vibrations softened. Celira's colors shifted in a pattern Evan had learned signified approval. "You are performing beyond expectations," she said. "Your species possesses a unique ability to act with thought, restraint, and courage simultaneously. That is why humans survive where others might fail." Evan nodded, though he barely allowed himself to breathe. The core had not fully stabilized yet. Another surge could undo all his work, but he had learned the station's patterns. He could anticipate fluctuations, respond to them instantly, and act before chaos could take hold. Suddenly, a secondary alarm erupted from the lower levels. Evan and Celira exchanged a glance. "It's connected to the tertiary systems," she said. "If it escalates, the entire station could be lost. You must go." Evan followed her through narrow maintenance tunnels, moving swiftly but carefully. The air grew hotter as they descended. The station seemed to pulse with energy around them, reacting to the instability. Small creatures scuttled along the walls, sensing danger. Evan kept his focus, aware that even a small mistake could be deadly. They reached the affected area, a chamber where the energy had begun leaking into adjacent systems. Sparks flew along the walls, arcs of energy lighting up the room. A large creature, normally docile, floated near the center, agitated by the instability. Evan froze momentarily, remembering the warnings. Any exposed human energy could provoke the creature, worsening the crisis. Celira stepped forward. "Observe. Do not provoke. Follow my lead." Evan watched as she approached the creature, her movements slow and deliberate. The creature's energy pulses slowed in response to her presence, but the core remained unstable. "You must assist," she said. "Act as I direct, but maintain composure. Humans possess a calm I have rarely seen in others. That calm will stabilize the system." Evan's hands moved over the controls, rerouting energy flows, dampening surges, and redirecting power to prevent a catastrophic cascade. The creature observed silently, its energy radiating in waves, testing him without aggression. Every step he took was deliberate, every action calculated. Minutes passed. The chamber trembled, the air crackled with energy, but Evan persisted. Humans had a remarkable ability to endure extreme conditions while maintaining focus. They could act decisively where other species hesitated. That endurance, coupled with reason, made them uniquely capable in situations that seemed impossible. Finally, the energy core's pulses returned to a stable rhythm. The alarm ceased. The vibrations subsided. The creature, sensing the change, floated calmly, no longer agitated. Evan exhaled, his body shaking from exertion but his mind clear. He had survived, adapted, and succeeded. Celira approached, her colors brightening in a pattern he now recognized as approval and admiration. "You have demonstrated what few humans can," she said. "Your species controls instinct with reason. You act with courage and thought simultaneously. That is why humans thrive where others fail." Evan felt a surge of pride, but he remained humble. He had not acted alone. He had followed instructions, adapted quickly, and trusted his training. Humanity had been tested and they had passed, not through brute force, but through patience, intelligence, and moral strength. The following hours were spent repairing minor damage, observing the creatures and stabilizing remaining systems. Evan noticed that the aliens around him began to move with less caution, giving him space to work and acknowledging his competence. For the first time, he felt fully integrated into the station's complex ecosystem. Humans were not just visitors, they were participants, capable of earning trust through restraint, logic, and courage. When the day finally ended, Evan returned to his cabin. He sat quietly, reflecting on everything he had experienced. Humans had faced unimaginable challenges on Earth and beyond. Today, on an alien station filled with systems and creatures beyond comprehension, they had proven themselves again. Humans survived where others would falter because they could control instinct, act with reason under pressure, and endure extreme challenges with courage. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Celira entered. "Tomorrow, you will be recognized by the station council," she said. "Your actions have not only stabilized the systems but have demonstrated a unique quality of humanity. Your species is rare in its ability to act deliberately, courageously, and with restraint." Evan smiled faintly. He realized that humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced species here. Yet they had a power that few others possessed: the ability to balance instinct with reason, courage with patience, and action with moral judgment. That was the strength that had earned him respect, and it was the strength that defined humanity. Celira studied him for a moment, then turned to leave. "Rest now," she said. "Tomorrow will honor your species, and perhaps, in time, we will learn from it." Evan lay down, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. He had faced the impossible, adapted to a world that seemed incomprehensible, and survived where others might have failed. Humanity had proven itself once again, not through power, but through intelligence, courage, and endurance. As he drifted to sleep, the station hummed around him, a living entity stabilized by the careful actions of a single human among aliens. For the first time, Evan understood that humans had a place here, not because they were like the aliens, but because they were unlike any other species. They were capable of rising to challenges that seemed insurmountable, of acting with thought where instinct would fail, and of showing courage that inspired even the most advanced beings. In that moment, Evan felt a deep connection to both his species and the alien station. Humanity had once again proved why they were a force to be respected, not through aggression, not through dominance, but through the quiet power of reason, endurance, and moral strength. Tomorrow, the council would see it. Today, the station had felt it. And Evan knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had survived, adapted, and thrived where others could not. And that, he realized, was what it meant to be human. The stars outside the station twinkled faintly, indifferent yet constant. Humans were small in the universe, but their spirit, their courage, and their intelligence made them extraordinary. Evan closed his eyes, knowing that wherever humanity went next, they would face the unknown with the same determination and strength that had carried them through the impossible. And in the heart of the alien station, humans had proven once more that they could rise above fear, defy expectation, and succeed where others failed.